Hi there YouTube, XtremeTrainz here. So, if you've been watching my channel since my old channel, Trainz Extreme, you would have seen some of my Thomas Bluebird reviews, which were some of the most popular videos that I uploaded on that old channel. If you haven't checked them out, I encourage you to look up my old channel and take a look, because this video is almost a follow-up many years later to that, because I managed to pick up something which I think is quite interesting, this here, from eBay for $47 plus postage. The miniature Brum set. Now, this is something which, if you are familiar with the Bluebird train system, you will immediately recognize as very, very similar. It's something which I actually did see in stores as a child, and I do remember being at a train museum in Queensland in Australia and wanting to buy this and my parents saying no, and I cried all the way home. So, now, all those years later, I finally managed to pick this up. Mint in packaging. I did wonder if it was worth opening, and then I was like, actually, you know what, YOLO, let's just open it and take a look, because this is something that's really cool, and I do want to do some comparisons to the Thomas Bluebird series, and I also hope you enjoy the story video which I posted in the lead up to this video. So, what are we waiting for, guys? Let's do it. So the first thing to do is take a look at the packaging. So, Brum, the miniature world of Brum with the ragdoll logo on the side. Complete play scene. You can see all the writing here. Handy carry box. Golden Bear toys. Interesting. You know, Brum and the Runaway train. You can see the track is laid out here for us. The figurines that are included are all here. Turn it over and you get a nice little synopsis of the story. And I do remember this episode quite well. Yeah, you can see that's all there. Also about the Brum friction toy, which I also had as a child. I can't find it. I think I might have given it away, but it was something I did also have as a child. You can see this is 36 months. Very interesting. I think there'd be a much older warning on this now because of its size. There you go. Copyright 2002. So let's just do a quick comparison of this packaging too. I did bring it with me. The Thomas Bluebird set. Now you can see this one here is obviously have been faded by the paint, by the sun. That was how it came when I bought it. You can see similar kind of stuff on the side, although this was also a Bluebird ERTL collection thing, depending on which country you bought it. And so if we look at this, you can see that this was 1998, but importantly, it was a British company, which is Bluebird Toys, which just after these were produced, Bluebird Toys actually went broke and no longer produced. They got bought by Mattel, interestingly enough, because Bluebird actually created the Polly Pocket line. So interestingly, these were made just before Bluebird Toys got bought by Mattel, of all people. Who would know what happens there? Which means that these did predate this set. So the question I'm going to be wondering is, was this some kind of agreement, or did they just simply steal this design from these Thomas sets, knowing that the new owners, Mattel, who had not produced these again, probably didn't care enough, and there probably weren't, or there wouldn't have been any patents on that toy design. So what are we waiting for? Let's crack this open and get it out of the packaging. So there's a little bit of assembly you have to do. You have to insert the Ferris wheel onto the little playset, but it does sit on like that, but we'll have a look more at what this comes with later. The first thing I want to look at is this little tiny Brum. If you're not familiar with Brum, I encourage you to look it up. It's quite a weird TV show, but it's very cool. But my goodness, I think this is very possibly the highlight of this set. It's so well detailed for its size. You've got painting on the windshield, you've even got windscreen wipers, you've got the beautiful detailing there of the gold, the black, his eyes, his little crankshaft, his wheels are detailed, with even a little spot of gold for the, you know, where the axle would go. There's gold accents here on the thing, there's black paint all the way around, he's got the painting for his spare tire. This is incredible level, this is the level of detail I would expect for a, you know, scale, you know, model railway kind of car in a kid's toy. And you just don't see toys that are made with this level of detail, especially this scale, anymore. Incredible. He does have little rolling wheels. No licensing information underneath here, which I think is quite interesting. But yes, he does have little rolling wheels. He's very light, but I just am, wow, this is a really, really nice little piece. Very, very cool. Very, very impressed by this. The next thing you get is the little simulated rubbish bags, I assume these are meant to be, which you push onto the track to stop the train. It's a bit weird, hey, it looks a bit like a bottle thing. Yeah, that's a bit weird, but I understand how it's included. We'll talk about the playing of this in a moment. The next figure you get is the mayor, and I'm just going to get him to focus. There you go. You can see he's quite, actually, again, very nicely detailed. All the features of the face are picked out. The eyes, the mouth, there's a nose, the hat's painted. He's even got a little bit of hair at the back. The gown is really nicely detailed all the way down the front there. He's even got little feet and a little stand. Again, no licensing information, but a really nice looking figure. The other figure you get in this set is the photographer, if it wants to focus for me, yep. And again, incredibly well detailed. Look, that camera is picked out in silver with black for the lens. His collar, his face, he's got like, you know, blue eyes, smiley mouth, the hair's done really well. You know, you can just see there's just so much care put into this toy and really, really well done. I mean, they're not the most, I'm sure if I want to snap these apart, I could definitely snap them apart. They're very fragile or easily broken, but they're just super duper nicely detailed. Like, again, the kind of level of detail I'd expect to see for a model train figurine, especially this size, not of an actual one. Now I think to actually the least impressive parts of this set, the train and the carriage. So here is the train itself, which I think is, to be honest, about as basic of a train as they could have made. And particularly if we take reference to the photos, I don't know if it's super duper accurate either. Have a look at the photos there. It's like a browny red color with silver. And you can see they've got the basic design elements such as the big funnel and the cowcatcher thing on the front there. But really, this is probably too bright a red. It should be more of a brown. I guess they want to make it exciting, but there's just not a lot of detail on this train, particularly compared to Brum. Brum versus the train. This train looks like it doesn't even belong in this set, to be honest. It's so lacking in printed details. There's nothing on the side, no stripes or anything, no words, which could have been there. And then you have the two rollers underneath, which click into the track, as I will show in a moment, and you have the coupling on the back. So I think the train is pretty disappointing. The only thing more disappointing than the train, to be honest, is the wagon, which is literally just a silver piece of plastic with one little rolly wheel under it, 3 fake wheels there, and some passengers there on a sticker on the side. So, yeah, the actual train itself, ironically enough in this set, is absolutely the least interesting part of the little figurines you get. So, coming around to the playset, what do you get? As you can see, you get a loop of track, you get some carnival detail along the sides. I'm trying to show you these. It's all done with stickers, which again is a bit of a step down from the Bluebird. You can see we come around. Here is the station with a signal. There's a little awning there. You can see, there we go. I think it's actually gibberish. It doesn't say anything on there. Yeah, it's actually gibberish letters. They're not real words. You do get this the carousel, which is nice. I like that all the buckets are separate. And you can spin it really fast and then go a bit crazy. And this just comes out really easily. So obviously you're meant to, you have to take it out to collapse up the playset, which I think is fair enough. The other thing you get here is the carousel, which again is actually quite nicely detailed. The horses are really nicely detailed. You've got the flag on the top. The base is lacking, but that's okay. And you can see if you just turn this gear on the outside, you can spin this around, which I think is quite nice. Now, obviously, as per the other ones, you can fold this up. With a satisfying click. There you go. There's the licensing information on the back. Move the big wheel and place in the half with the carousel and all the other parts. There you go. Instructions. And this is obviously the face almost of Brum. As you can see, that's that little gold part on the front, his little radiator section. That's what you get here, and I think that looks quite nice. And again, you open this up, obviously. Oh, as you can see, quite a bit of force required to do that, and you get the playset. So, now, how does the playset actually play? So I was originally quite disappointed by how bare the inside of this is, but I think I understand now that unlike in the Thomas set, you know, you do have these 2 figurines plus Brum, who doesn't actually go on any track, which means you need some space to be able to drive him around inside the playset. So I kind of understand why they left this just flat, boring, and there's nothing, no molded detail or anything, just so you could drive Brum around a bit more easily. There's nowhere to actually click in the people. It's not like a Polly Pocket set where there were little holes where you could, like, you know, stick them in so they didn't move anywhere. They just kind of stand wherever you want to put them. So that's kind of like that. And then obviously there's nowhere really to put the rubbish either. And it's unclear where the rubbish is supposed to go. There's no clear, like, you know, again, it doesn't like tab in anywhere or click in anywhere. It just kind of sits. So I guess Brum just goes and pushes it onto the track, although it kind of needs a bit of help from a big hand to get it to stay on the track. Now, in terms of the train, it's a bit awkward as you can see, it doesn't sit on the track very well. Like, it definitely is on there, but, you know, unlike the Bluebird Thomas, as I always said, you had to be really gentle, otherwise they just wanted to come off the track. This one wants to come off all the track all the time. And here, there's actually a little raised part. I assume so the gear mechanism for this carousel can go to the outside, which also I was like, oh cool, a raised part, but it's actually quite difficult to get the train around that corner. And then, if you go like this, try and get the train to actually go, it just stops because it gets stuck. Like, you can't roll it down this way of the hill. You'll notice that there's a really big break here in the track, which is not how the Bluebird engines did it. They had a bit more of a gradual kind of blending of the track, which means all equally when you're going over this part, there's a big kind of, you can see it kind of divots in, and you know that the wagon has a bit of a tendency to uncouple. So it's not a very smooth system. I imagine it would frustrate a lot of children, to be honest, because the train really doesn't stay on the track that well. And again, there's not that much to do with the track. Like, it just goes round. There's no sidings or anything. I'm going to see if I can push it down this way. It might roll a bit. Yeah, there you go. That's as far as it gets when you push it down the hill, which really isn't that impressive compared to the Thomas set, which has that quite big hill, which you can kind of play with. Yeah, these joins are quite bumpy, and then like there is a station, I suppose, but again, you can't do that much with it. So yeah, the actual play value of the train, I think, is quite limited in this versus, for example, Brum, who can just drive around anyway. You can take him off the playset and he can be a little pocket Brum. I think Brum, again, is proving to be, even in the play sense, the highlight of this set. I don't think the play functions of the train are particularly well done, particularly, which is embarrassing because this is a Runaway train playset, and the train doesn't really have a capacity to run away. You can't let it go down the hill and it just doesn't work that way. So I'll get the Thomas out and let's see if they're crossing. So you can see the Thomas set in front of me, and for a size reference, the Thomas one is actually smaller. It's a bit taller, or it's about the same in height. Obviously the bridge comes up higher than that. But in terms of the actual footprint of the whole thing, the Brum one is definitely bigger, and there is more track, I think, in distance-wise, if you ignore the siding. But as you can see, it's just a world of difference. The level of detail on this Bluebird one is just incredible versus the level of detail here. The only thing this Bluebird one has, sorry, is the yellow track versus the black track. So let's do the ultimate test. Can Thomas the Tank Engine, and by association James, ride on this playset? Let us have a look. Whoop. So Thomas suffers from the same difficulties as the other engine. So the first problem here is he's too wide. The track doesn't have enough clearance on the side here for Thomas to fit properly. In terms of the gauge, I think he does fit, but yep, there's not enough clearance for Thomas. Sorry, my friend, you are out. Oh look, did I just scratch the corner off him? Very possibly, or possibly from when I'd done these reviews. Yep. As you can see, that's a no. You can't fit Thomas on this track. He fits physically on the track, but he doesn't fit on the playset per se. If we just take a look at the design underneath, you can get a bit of an idea. The track, I think, is a little bit wider on this one than it is on the Bluebird one. But now let's try the other way around. Will the Runaway engine work on this playset? It's going to be wide enough. Yes! Hurrah! Yep, this is a success. We can get the engine riding along like this. That's good. Let's see if we can get the wagon on there. So far, so good. Yes, there we go. So the Runaway train can be on Thomas's playset, but Thomas and his truck will not fit on the playset here, which is a bit ironic considering this is a bigger playset. So that's kind of how the compatibility works there. In terms of their design, I think the Bluebird one is far, far nicer. It's obviously got way more details. There's more stuff going on. It looks really, really nice. This one feels a little bit empty, a little bit cheap. But I think the accessories on this one are very, very well done. Brum is really, really nicely done. The figures are really nicely done. So yeah, if I had to pick one, obviously I'm going to pick the Thomas one because I'm a Thomas fan more than a Brum fan. But it is really interesting to see this comparison. So now I've had a look at that. Let me know your thoughts. Did you watch Brum as a kid? Did you like Brum? I used to really like Brum. It is essentially like a car version of Thomas the Tank Engine. It's quite fun. It was a bit strange, but it was quite fun. And they picked a really cute car, I think, which always helps. If you had this set or you had any of the other Brum sets, I'd love to know your thoughts on them if you've still got them. But yeah, let me know which one you think is a cooler idea, which one you prefer. I think it's pretty obvious the Thomas one is far better, but I can be wrong and you're allowed to disagree with me. That's why I like it when people comment on my videos. So that's what we've got to talk about in this review. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to do all those cool things you do on YouTube, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Talk to your friends because hopefully they are as interested in trains as us. Or if they're not, maybe you can convert them with this video. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. That's all we have time for. This is XtremeTrainz. Hi there, YouTube. So what just occurred to me is that I actually didn't give my closing thoughts on this set in terms of a value proposition or as a collector. Now, the first reason that didn't jump out to me was because I'm not a Brum collector. I don't know if people are, but I don't really have a lot of expertise in the area, so I couldn't really comment. But I suppose if your question is, what do I think about this set? Do I recommend it? To be honest, no. I think if you want to collect miniature things, there are plenty of Thomas miniatures, particularly the ERTL miniatures and the Bluebird, which are far better. I think the standout piece in this set is indeed the little Brum, and everything else is pretty forgettable. The playset, as I said, is interesting, but it's not particularly well detailed. The train doesn't work particularly well. It's not cross-compatible with the others, and the rest of it is kind of just stuff. So I think this is a poor rip-off of the Bluebird. If that's what they were going for, I don't think they did a very good job. And I think they could have done a lot more research into what they wanted to do a better job of that. But that said, I think that little detail Brum right here really does blow it out of the water, and it would be amazing if we could get toys that were that detailed these days. So, as I detailed initially in the start of this video, I paid just over $55 for this with postage included. And I think, you know, for a vintage set, that's probably fair enough. It's not my fault that I didn't like it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. As always, you just look back at the previous conclusion that I just did, but obviously they're my thoughts on this. If you have any other thoughts, I'm more than happy to listen to you share them. So that's what the comments are for. Off you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.